Hey, that's you guys in the back. Quiet.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is our council committee meeting, April 21st, 2015. The first item we have on the agenda is our police committee. Turn it over to Vicki Kyle.
Yes, I have been instructed to read a letter from one of the police committee members, and I would like to begin by saying one of our candidates, Tony Wilson, I have known him since he was 16, outstanding young man, and I'm so proud of him. So anyway, I'm going to read Patty Sudkamp's letter. I think you all got a copy, but she wants me to read this at the meeting. I am unable to attend the April 21st council meeting. In my absence, I would appreciate this letter being read. As a member of the police committee, I fully support Tony Wilson in becoming our next police chief. He certainly has proven himself to be more capable of filling the position with Chief Aaron's retirement. I know a few departments that groom their men and women like Erlanger does. Tony has had the honor of working under 3 police chiefs in his 22 years of dedicated service to Erlanger. He is liked and very well respected among the men and women of his department and in the field of policing. There is not a better candidate for the job. Most sincerely, Patty Sudkamp. And I think that we all got letters of recommendation from the chief and Mr. Fields. So I won't read all of those because we want to kind of keep this short. But it is the recommendation of the police committee that Assistant Chief Tony Wilson be promoted to the rank of Chief of Police of Erlanger. It is also our recommendation that Lieutenant Douglas Eagler be promoted to the rank of Assistant Chief of Police of Erlanger. And I would like to make a motion that the mayor appoint them to these positions as of May 1st, and I believe that's like a temporary thing, May 1st, and that this be ordained by a municipal order of the mayor at the next council meeting on May 5th.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I will take one quick side note. I apologize. Mr. Allen, Matt Allen, asked that I talk to everybody and let you know that we're experimenting with the old mics again, but we also have the lapel mics. If there's one that you prefer more than the other, we are working out the sound situation. If you can't hear us, so a lot of times that was part of the problem with these old mics. If we're looking right at them, you can hear us. If we turn our heads, you have a tougher time hearing us. So if someone's speaking and you can't hear, please raise your hand. Let us know. I received an email from Mr. Meyer, and I will just kind of summarize this. It's a brief email, but he just was voicing his opinion that he felt like he would like to see the city explore to field resumes for the chief of police position and assistant chief position. That's basically it. About 3 or 4 sentences here that he was just kind of voicing his opinion. But that being said, if there's no other objection, and by the motion and second, and I know otherwise, or I know in agreement, there's no objection, I would also recommend the promotion of Lieutenant Colonel Wilson and to Chief, and the promotion of Lieutenant Eagler to Assistant Chief. And as Vicki had said, starting May 1st, Lieutenant Colonel Wilson will be the acting chief, and that'll be for 5 days. And upon the 5th, then it'll be official that he is the chief. All right, so moving on then. The next item on the agenda is Public Works. Mr. Cahill,
So, Mr. Hermes, I was told that you were going to lead this one.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, okay, so the item here is the council chambers modification. So I really wanted to just kind of bring this to the attention. A lot of people may not be aware. The center section of the desk here was made for 4 seats, not 5. And we've got 2 pieces of cabinetry that sit here. We've got Mr. Gatlin and Mr. Fields straddling a piece of cabinetry up here to sit with 5 people. If we pull those pieces of cabinetry out, we need to put brackets underneath this desk and also patch the carpet underneath here. We've gotten bids. Mr. Bogard had assembled some bids. Along with this also, we've got 3 different styles of seats up here. At one time, we had 4 matching seats, and for some reason, we only have 3 now. But to get 2 more seats that are similar to the other 2, that's included in this. The total price of the work is $2,611. I think more than anything, I just wanted to make council aware that we would be pursuing these improvements to be able to make the desk up here fit 5 people. One other item I just wanted to bring up as far as Public Works goes. I was approached by the mayor of Crescent Springs regarding a bucket truck. He found a used bucket truck that was for sale, and we've spoken about it. The idea would be sharing the cost of the bucket truck. It has quite a few miles on it, and the asking price of this bucket truck right now is $12,000. Sharing the cost of that with Crescent Springs, and he thought that another city might also be interested in sharing in those costs. So the cost to the city would be $4,000. Looking at what we spend to rent bucket trucks each year, it runs usually between $1,200 and $1,500 a year. And not really, this bucket truck is out of town. Oh, Tennessee. Yeah, so this is down in Tennessee. And without being able to see it and check out to make sure that it meets all the safety requirements and is up to standards, we were a little hesitant to make that investment and to risk putting our guys in something, you know, when we can rent something that we know is maintained and in good condition. So at this point, we kind of shy away from that unless you guys think otherwise, okay? So that's all I had on Public Works. Moving on then to administration. Ms. Cahill? Or no, actually, does this get turned over to?
Mark. Okay. I was told I'm off the hook. You got this one?
You
No?
was told I got this one?
Well, no.
Missy gave this one to me.
Did
Yes,
she?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's good.
Look,
She
she's
took it
shaking
from
her
me and
head.
gave it to you to save me. Okay.
Sure, yeah. Chief Wilson? Yeah. If you or Assistant Chief Eagler would like to make any statements, please go to the microphone since you have so many of your officers here. It would be a good time to do that.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt that.
I wasn't expecting to make any statements, but I just want to appreciate the support from all the troops. Had a lot of support from Chief Aarons and Lieutenant Eagler as well as the Police Committee, Vicki and Patty, new microphone, and Chief Fields. So just want to thank everybody that was involved. I really appreciate it. I'm going to work really hard to maintain the level of service that we've been providing for numerous years. So thank you very much to everybody. I appreciate it. And thank you especially to you guys for showing up tonight. Thanks.
As Assistant Chief, I want to say thank you and congratulations. It's been a long time in coming. I didn't ever expect to see myself here. My job will be to make Tony Wilson look good. So I'm pretty much done. I want to say thank you, especially the people who have invested their time and effort over the years to make this the best police department around. I appreciate it. Now I'm always available. Thank you.
There is one thing that I would like to say, since I have such deep roots inside that department. This city and the department has spent just numerous hours, numerous dollars, I can't tell you how many, preparing for these transitions just like tonight that you saw. And it is our hope and desire that that continues. And you can call anywhere around in this state and see that if, in fact, you know, this police department is one of the most well-respected police departments in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And it's because of those things and those men and women that serve that department. The continuity of command is so important, and it's what we're trying to instill in every department in the city, and we're working towards that, and I think we're making very, very, very good headway of getting there and getting that done in all the departments. And that's why tonight was so important, and next Tuesday night, or 2 Tuesday nights from now, will be that much more important with the support of the men and women. And I'm sure that Chief Wilson and Assistant Chief Eagler will be very successful. I know Chief Ahrens has a well-deserved retirement. I hope he comes back and sees us quite often and brings his John Deere tractor so we can use it. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
On the waste collection bids, these were all sent out to you, a synopsis of the bids. Sherry put together some very good, I think, spreadsheets and looking at them. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to review those. If you look at it, and on this, we're going to look at Alternative 2, which Alternative 2 is exactly what we're doing today on these bids. And if you look at those bids, they're a little bit different coming in. If you look at all of them going across, you will see that Best Way Disposal in the first 2 years of their contract gave us the lowest price. You also see that Rumpke would have come in, if you don't have an additional cart, they would have been the second lowest bid, and Republic would have been the highest on that. That's if you do not use on the Rumpke bid the additional cart. They're going to charge $1 for the additional cart, which with Republic you get 2 carts before you're being charged. We've had some discussions with the representatives of the companies, and that may be changed. That may be something that we could talk about, but these were the bids, and this is how they came in. So it would have been $14.93 with the extra cart for the Rumpke bid, so that would have put them up at the highest if you look at the extra cart, if you're doing apples to apples. When we look at Best Way's bid, and Best Way's bid on the next 2 years out, okay, it increases more so than if you were talking, and I was doing the ones with the recycling together, okay, on that one. All right, if we just look at regular trash or waste collection, and I believe these numbers are correct, there are only, me being one of them, there are only 800 of us in the city that are recycling right now. So out of the 3,000 or whatever it is residents we have, there's only 800 of us recycling at this point in time. So it's not a very large amount that are doing that. I know we had talked in the past about making some of that mandatory and doing some of those things. However, that's not what we did. But if we looked at Best Way in the out years, just for basic trash collection, it went to $10.27. On the Republic bid, it went to $9.81. So, and on the off years is when you're looking out. So we see that Republic service is a better price on that basic service if we go in the outer years. So their prices on the outer years, which would be, this one runs from 2015 to 2017, then 2017 to 2019, those are lower prices than what the other one would be. Now, the one kicker in this whole thing is the Rumpke did an alternative bid for automated collection. So if, in fact, we go to an automated collection, then Rumpke would have the lowest price for both recycling and for the waste collection. Now, what automated collection or collection means is that we use their totes. They have automated trucks. They would not pick up anything else other than what is in those totes, except for 1 day a month where we could do large items, and they would provide that 1 day a month to us to do large items. If you had other large items that you wanted to set out any other time than that 1 time a month, there would be a charge for that, the way I understood the bids coming in. So the choice basically is simply this. You know, if you're looking at Republic Services, when you're looking at the prices for the alternative 1 or 2 that we do right now, that would be the recommendation of the committee or the staff, was to go with that bid. The second one would be, if in fact we want to go automated and we want to make that change to complete automation, then our recommendation would be to look at Rumpke's bid for that automated collection. I'll turn it over to, I guess, Ms. Cahill.
Oh, thank you. I was looking at our bill.
Could you set up a little bit so we can hear?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Don't like either one.
I can't
Okay.
hear you down.
All right. I was looking at our bill from Republic Service for, we don't recycle.
Right.
Sorry, Tom. Okay, all right. It appears then that we had some issues when we first had them, when they were CSI, whatever, and I think everything is kind of worked out. If Tom Senior is happy, the whole city should probably be happy, because he nitpicks at everything. He just really does. But it appeared that our bill would go down.
Is he watching that?
Huh?
Is he watching tonight?
Oh, no, I never let him watch. Are you kidding? No. He doesn't know what a computer is. Okay. No, he doesn't watch. And it looks like, if I figure it out, our bill will go down.
Yes, ma'am. I looked at mine too, and
yeah, it'll go
goes
down with Republic, and I think that's probably the best bid. That was, I was glad to hear that you were taking it over, but I was told, I had talked to Bill, that Republic seemed to be, with everything else going up year after year, and this would go down. I think we can't, and they know our city. They report to the people here. They know who's in charge, whatever. And I just agree that Republic should be the service that we should go with. I didn't understand the automatic till you did it, but my recommendation was to go with Republic, but unless anybody had something else they wanted to say.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, if it's going down, we're getting something going down for a change,
Does that make it? Really? I have the big guy's note somewhere.
Vicki?
While she's checking her prices, I just want to say that I am very pleased with Republic. They've always been very personable with my husband, who can be cantankerous also. And yeah, so I mean, if he the same thing. I mean, he's very picky about things, especially about what we talked about yesterday. But anyway, we have a few elderly people on our street that they came and asked me if they could put out their little bag because they don't want to pull that big heavy tote. And I told them, I said, I'm sure if we ask them, they'll say okay. And they did. They were fine with that because it's not automated is the reason. So for some elderly people, they may not want to use the totes. You may have a problem if we would want to switch. So I'm with Kathy and, thinking that this is a good idea. Plus, it's pretty reasonable.
I think it would be a hard sell to go with the one that's going to do the automated. Sorry. I think it would be horrible to go with the one that's going to be automated, because it would be a hard sell, because a lot of people, they still put out stuff that's not in the containers that they go in now. And it doesn't matter how cheap it is, they're not going to go for one day a month being able to put everything out. They're not going to store it for a month to put it out. So I'm in agreement with Kathy.
Up to you. Okay, if you want to.
And I looked, and if this is right, it'll go down $3.40 billing period, which I think it's supposed to be. It would, instead of being $28.62, it would be $25, $22. That's if he's included taxes and everything. That's, and I guess that gas surcharge or something. But it appeared that our bill would go down $3.40.
And just to give everybody, right now I think it's $9.90, and if you're just looking per month. And then if in fact we would have renewed our contract, just to know that going out for bid was a good thing for us, because if we would have just renewed with Republic, that price would have been $10.59 in our contract, the old contract we had. So we did good by going out for bid. So we did get that reduction, like you said, even from what it is today. So we've got the 4 more years before we get there. Yeah.
Any restrictions on the large items? Just any restrictions on the large items, or are they just asking that you call ahead of time like usual?
I believe it's the same way. I mean, the representatives from all the companies are here tonight, and I don't know if the mayor's going to give them an opportunity to speak, but yes, and I think that, and I don't know, and we have had very few times where we've had complaints about items that were put out that weren't picked up.
Yeah.
I know I personally, from my personal experience, I've never put out anything that hasn't been picked up. I can't say I put out anything really big, but we've had that, and every time that we've worked with them and called them about properties that have put out large items that were vacant, they've come and worked those out too. So I think that remained the same. There's 2 trucks that run. It is one for the automated, and we use the totes. The other one follows by and gets those things that are not in those totes, and that's an operational, I guess, policy that Republic has on that side.
Well, I saw the NA for the fuel surcharges, so those are not included in the contract, so they can't be added on later?
Correct. There will be, on none of the bids were any fuel charges being added.
I think we've got representatives from each company here, so I'd open up the floor if any of you would like to get up and speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, administration. My name is Jeff Wilson with Republic Services. Appreciate the kind thoughts. I'll take it back to the employees. It means a lot to them to hear that kind of talk about them. It's not always pleasant in the trash business, but you're exactly right. Mark's and his staff have done a good job laying this thing out. The one thing that we haven't really talked about was the addition in this bid to construction debris. So, and as I drive around Erlanger, there's a lot of folks doing weekend projects, things set out that wasn't part of the old bid. It is part of this. So, again, that's part of we heard what they said, what you wanted, and I think we've responded correctly. So, anything else any other questions I can answer, I'd be glad to.
I will say one thing that came up last night in another meeting we had, and they were asking about, and for all the companies even, the colors of the totes. And I know we have a resident sitting here that brought that up last night. So I was wondering if, in fact, there was any kind of choices that, even though I know it wasn't in the bid package, and we're looking at this, and we're talking about storing these wherever they're going to store them on their property. Is there any choices that we would absolutely have about colors of the totes that we get, or are we now stuck with the colors that are blue?
Well, it just so happens we might be able to accommodate the gray color. So I can, I'll be glad to take it back. And actually, we talked today.
You talked to Mr. Okay.
And I'm thinking that yeah, we're gonna work something out.
Good. She is.
I've been asked that by a couple of people now. So.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it sounds like gray and brown. People don't have was there another color? Green. But the blue ones seems that we're getting some complaints about this.
I wanted to ask a question about the pickup. Can you clarify? I'm a little confused then. Are you allowed to put out construction material, or you're not allowed to put out?
Yes.
You are allowed to put out construction? As long as it still fits in the can?
Well, yes. I mean, it has to be 4-foot lengths, bundled, those kind of things. But yeah, you're going to redo your half bath over the weekend. You put it out on trash day, we'll pick it up.
Great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I recently called them. We had taken our basement ceiling down because all our electric was in there, and we replaced all our old electric with new wiring. And I called over, and they said as long as I had it in containers and put out there, they could pick it up. And I put signs on it, and of course on the garbage can what was in it, so it'd be heavy, and the rain washed the signs away. So I had to go out there in the morning when the guy showed up, and he says, "Don't worry about it. This truck can pick up a small Volkswagen." So they weren't upset with what was in the can. They knew it was going to be there because I called and told them what was going on. And they were more than cooperative in doing anything I asked them to do. They've done that every time I've called. If I put something out, like when I took my fence down, they had no problem picking it up as long as I had it out there and right next to the garbage can. They were perfectly willing to pick it up. So I'm pleased with what our service we get from them.
Good deal.
Any other questions for Mr. Wilson? All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Brett Gaspard, Public Sector Manager with Rumpke. Appreciate the opportunity to bid on Erlanger. I think this is the third or fourth time in my career that I've had the opportunity to bid on Erlanger, and at one time did manage the contract years ago under a previous hauler. So always glad to be here. Really, in terms of what Rumpke can offer the city of Erlanger that you don't already have is the recycling capabilities. And that's the only option that we're competitive and in fact lower on and would represent a savings to the community. I think other than maybe like Fairview, Erlanger is the only community in Kenton County that doesn't have universal recycling for residents. That's still on a subscription basis. In other words, that the residents would have to subscribe and then pay the additional fee, and that is why that the participation rate is so low. Most communities that have the universal recycling where somebody doesn't have to, you know, subscribe, make a call, and pay an additional bill is up over 50%. So if council in his wisdom, you know, would like to see universal recycling in Erlanger where it's available to every resident, you'd be diverting that material from the landfill, you know, helping save the carbon footprint, as they say, and giving folks the opportunity to recycle things. We'd like to have the opportunity to move forward with you in that relationship. We would be the lowest bid by a pretty fair margin at that point. Regarding the automation, most of the cities are, well, I shouldn't say most, but the trend is moving towards automation, even with the bigger communities now. It gives a good presentation. What that means is that Rumpke would provide every resident with 2 trash carts under the automation, and then you'd have the large recycling bin. But the large items would be restricted to the once-a-month pickup. If you have large items out every week with an automated bid, you don't grab the efficiencies. So that would be the difference there with that option. Whether it's automated or non-automated, if the community does look to go with universal recycling, we would be the lowest, but we become lower with the automated option. So thanks for your time. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Are you still doing that pilot program with, I believe it was Montgomery, where the recycling and
so Montgomery, Ohio partnered with a company called Recycle Bank. That was, we had to equip our trucks with a measuring device that reported the weight of the recycling cans back to Recycling Bank. Recycling Bank then sent the residents gift certificates if they were very aggressive at recycling. Unfortunately, I guess what Recycle Bank found was that, and Montgomery found, was that a lot of people were putting rocks in there. You know, things to make it weigh heavy, and so we weren't really recycling the true volume because we're getting that at our landfill, at our recycling facility and saying, hey, we can't recycle that. So that didn't work out too well.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hear wet newspaper is really good too. Thank you, Mr. Gaspard.
Good evening. My name is Katie Raverty. I am with Best Way Disposal. I just want to thank the council for giving us the opportunity to bid on your city this evening. A little bit about Best Way, since we are probably the newer name in the area. We are a third-generation family-owned company from Michigan and decided to come down here in 2011. We service over 25,000 residents within the Northern Kentucky area, and that is not even including our municipal bids. We are actually located about 7 miles away from here in Burlington, Kentucky, where we have a campus where we have 59 trucks, 90 drivers, and continue to grow. One thing that I am proud of about Bestway is we developed a strong partnership with Boone County Solid Waste. Recently, they just opened up their own recycling facility. And within our bid, we were proposing, since there was such low recycling participation, to take the recyclables to the Boone County's Recycling Center, which would give the city an opportunity to be eligible for grant money from the state of Kentucky, since the recyclables are being disposed of in a state-run facility. So that was just the opportunity we wanted to give on the recycling side, and a different look at it, since the questionnaire was wrapped around a little bit about paybacks, refunds, where the money goes. And that was our way of giving back to the community and giving them that opportunity that you guys haven't had before. So again, thank you so much for this great opportunity. We will be around in a couple of years to rebid out, so you'll continue to see us around on the roads. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Anyone? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rafferty.
Thank you.
All right, I think that ends our waste collection bid discussion, correct?
Yes.
All right. The next item on our agenda is under administration, still under administration. The Erlanger board members, and this is my item here. As a lot of you are aware, there are quite a few boards and committees that have people that are appointed by the mayor. And there have been several opportunities I've made to contact some of the members, and Mr. Miller, I think that was in January. Didn't get a hold of him. We had a disconnected phone, or for some reason the phone line it wasn't the right number on file. And then recently here again, I've tried to get a hold of another member. I want to send a letter out to everybody. One, to make sure that we have the most accurate information on them, their address, phone number, all that. But also to take the opportunity to get to meet them, to introduce myself, and to make sure that they are still interested in serving on the board that they are serving on. I think there's some reason the number 18 is popping in my head there. I think there's 18 appointments that I would like to set up meetings with over the next month or so here. So my point in saying this is just to let you know there's I think there's maybe one of those 18 that I know and am familiar with. So I don't know who knows who, so I'm just letting you guys know in case you get a phone call that says, hey, I got a letter here from the mayor requesting a meeting, so you understand. And I think, does everybody have a copy of that? It's a pretty easygoing letter there, just requesting a meeting. So then moving on, is there any questions on that or any comments?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Okay, then the next item on our agenda here is the Economic Development and Finance Committee. Mr. Blankenship, Ms. Pitts.
We are planning on having our first reading of the budget at the May meeting, so we're here to discuss if anybody has any additions or changes to the budget before Greg finalizes it, and Greg's in the house if you have anything you want to say.
Just real briefly. That's why I didn't bring that with me.
You hit somebody with it?
Pardon me?
Hit somebody with it?
Yeah. I just wanted to bring everybody up to date. Since the March meeting, we did make some changes, as we always do, in between then and the time it's finalized. And I just wanted to give you just some of the bigger items that were changed. There were a couple minor changes in the revenue items, the biggest one being in the police and fire incentive pay. we always try to go back and make sure that our actual is going to reflect what we're actually collecting, or the budget reflects what we're actually collecting. And that one is a little bit more difficult to get because it doesn't match up exactly every time, but it did go down some, so we reduced those. And I know that almost happens every year because we budget for full employment and we never have full employment. So the expense side goes down, but the revenue side goes down as well on the incentive pay. The other bigger items that we changed were in the area of general government. We added $11,000 to tuition reimbursement. When we got into the March financials, we start looking at it, and earlier in the year, we changed the program and made it a little more generous because we had not had a whole lot of folks taking advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Well, it worked really well, the changes, and now we have a lot of people taking advantage of it. In fact, so much so that we're going to probably reduce it back a little bit and go someplace in between what we had and what we currently have. But we do have a lot of folks that did avail themselves of the program, and there's going to be about an additional $11,000 needed in that line item for the amended budget.
Greg, can I make a comment about that?
Yes.
And he's exactly right, and he said it correctly. But in our personnel policy changes that we're going to propose, we got the committee together, representatives from each department, and the changes that we are going to propose to that should bring it back in line with what we've budgeted in the past year for it and what it is. And we're going to put a cap on it as to what it is of about $5,200 a year is what we're going to put that cap on. That is basically what the IRS cap is. If in fact we give any more than that, then they have to claim it as income. So we're going to cap it at what the IRS has said. That's what our suggestion to you all is going to be in the next couple months.
Is there a comparison to how we stand compared to other cities on that?
You know, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if
there was, in fact, in our salary survey that we did last year, we did get those numbers out, and that's why we changed our program to be more competitive with what other cities were doing. But then we saw, and we didn't realize that there should be, and so we're going to institute that cap on our side, and we didn't do it. There are some cities that do not have a cap. Many of our surrounding, one of our benchmark cities right just north of us is one that does not have a cap on theirs, and that's what we were trying to do. Our salaries were on that lower part of the scale. We wanted to make this benefit what it is. And to tell you, I think the number, if I'm not mistaken, Missy, is 8? 8. There's only 8 employees out of our 120 that are using that right now. We want to encourage everybody to use it, but putting that cap on there will spread out the benefit, hopefully. In other ways, we can use that money to benefit more people than just the 8.
And I'd just like to point out that 4 of that 8 already have finished out their degrees this year through that program.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for us.
Okay.
You know, for the city to have.
All right. Thank you.
The other change in general government that we made was we added an additional $10,400 to the public awareness budget with the hiring of the new person to coordinate those efforts. We added an additional $10,400 to that to bring it to a total of $30,000 in public awareness. That's for the monthly programs and the teen nights and the heritage days and all those other programs that are in that line item. The other biggest change, and probably the biggest change of the bunch, is in the area of communications technology and innovations. When we started looking at our amended budget for the current year, we discovered that we were running really far, spending too much money in relation to the budget for communications and telephones. And we were racking our brains trying to figure out why that was, and it finally hit us today. The budget was initially built around the concept that we were going to get a new phone system in November. We're in April now, and we still don't have the new phone system in place. As a result, we didn't experience the savings from Cincinnati Bell that we thought we were going to have, and we need to increase that budget to reflect what we've actually paid so far this year. We will see those savings going forward, the end of this fiscal year, but primarily in future fiscal years. And those are pretty much the biggest changes. There were a few other small items, but for the most part, that was the biggest of the changes. And as Ms. Pitts said, we intend to have this on for first reading at your May meeting. There's still a lot of work to do to finalize the document. And if there's any changes that you all are going to propose that you know we need to get in there, this would be the time to do it, or at least I would certainly appreciate this being the time that you did it.
Yes. I'd like to see us increase the budget to include an additional 1% of payroll and benefits to be added to the 1.3 already included in the general government recruitment and retention line item. The department heads will then have the discretion to recommend a pool of money for raises to employees as they deem appropriate. I just feel the 1.3 is just not going to get us where we need to be. We've tried to bring our folks up to speed, up to where we want them, and I feel this will help us get there. And I just feel that this is going to retain employees and see that we're paying the employees who are doing a job, and it's just a drop in the bucket. It's not really that much, so I'd like to see us increase that.
All right, thank you, JD.
What is the dollar figure?
If I could just say one quick thing on that. And when Greg had put together the numbers on that, the idea was just carrying everything the same going forward. And what he had come to the initial numbers that he showed me just had a 0.3% increase. And as we talked, we decided, you know, it would probably be better if we had that 1.3, just as you're saying, to go ahead and have that the discretionary funds. It wouldn't be looked at as a 1.3 across the board.
No.
That would be raises where earned.
Right. We'd take it from 1.3 to 2.3, and then it would be the discretion of the department heads to decide who gets what.
Yeah.
And not just that 1.3.
That's council. That's your decision. So, sir, did you have a question?
I said, what was the dollar figure?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be, I think, around $81,000 would what it would be.
1% equals about $81,000.
Yeah.
And most of our employees are still on the lower end, of the surrounding cities, so we just want to retain them instead of training them and then them moving on where they get better money.
I agree with that as well. I'd like to see us raise that additional 1%.
All right, any other comments on that? The next item on the agenda is the possible surplus property. Mr. Blankenship or Ms. Pitts, did you have anything to comment on that?
I don't have any comments on it. I think it was Mr. Harmon and Mr. Fields going to address that, or the surplus property?
Want me to do it?
I'll be happy to.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if you guys had something else to say about it. This came up in our last meeting. The city owns property, vacant property throughout the city. And this was one example, McAlpin and Dixie, of a property that's sitting there. We don't necessarily have any plans for the property, but it is not marketed to sell. And I think it is a very saleable piece of property. But we can't put it on the market until council deems it to be surplus. So, the idea would be in the next council meeting, this might be an example, this might be one property that we start with. If we call it surplus, then we can put a real estate sign up at the property. Mr. Dunhoff, did you have?
Yeah, I proposed something a while back to several people, and I'd really like to see the city do something with that corner lot, because I don't know what you could possibly put there because it's so small, and I would hate to see it go to St. Henry's adding a parking lot there if they bought it, or the Midas Muffler Shop had a place where they can store cars, and we want to get away from that on Dixie Highway. I feel that we don't have a little memorial park where we got our Vietnam memorials and our Korean War memorials, World War I, II, and Afghan, and I would like to see us take that corner. And I think, to me, that's the center of Erlanger, not Commonwealth and Dixie Highway, right before you get to the underpass. I think the center of Erlanger is, if anybody's ever lived here as long as I have, that is the center of Erlanger. That is where everybody used to, it just, you know, St. Henry's, McAlpin, and Garvey were the Erlanger, Ellsworth. And I've talked to VFW, I've talked to American Legion, I talked to Vietnam vets. They all like the idea. I'd like to see us look into something like that, and because we don't have, and I guarantee you, if you ask 10 people, 1 or 2 might know where the Korean Memorial is in Erlanger. And if you don't know where it's at, it sits right across from the Vietnam Memorial in front of the bakery. That big flagpole is the Korean War Memorial. Several people had no idea why they put a reef up there. They had no idea what that was. I didn't until I asked. I just thought it was a flagpole, and I thought, that's nice. They put a reef over there, and they put one over here, and then I went over there one day, and sure enough, that's what it said. We don't have a World War I, World War II. They've got a little memorial park over in Ellesmere. I think we could invite Ellesmere to possibly bring that little park over and join us if we wanted to. But I just don't want to see it turn into a parking lot, a park and ride, or a place where you're going to park junk cars. But to me, that's a center, and it'd be a nice place to put something where people can go visit off the street and park at St. Henry's and walk across. Put some seating in there where people can sit around and fix it up. I'd like to see us do something like that, but that, you know, it's up to the whole council. But I would really hate to see something go in there we don't want to go in there.
Maybe we can identify a different property. Maybe we can use the proceeds from that property for a memorial park.
Well, I mean, that's just what I'd like to see us do something with it.
Sure, okay. Any other discussion on that? Ms. Kyle?
Would we have some kind of control over, I mean, I know we do by our zoning, but I'm kind of like Mr. Dunoff. I don't want to see something go in there that we really don't like. And I don't think we're going to be able to put property up for sale and say, well, no, we're not selling to you. And so I don't know. I'm kind of, you know, on the fence on this one. Because I think that's such a great piece of property. And I remember when we bought the other piece of property, I think it's right across the street from that, right? Because, well, we had to buy that one because of the lineup of the road, but I just would like to see, I want the Dixie Highway to look really nice, you know, not all these little chopped up little things along the road. That's the only hesitation that I have with that. I mean, it's a great idea, but I just want to make sure that we have some kind of control over what would go in there.
I don't know the current zone right there, do you, Mr. Hahn? I mean, to some extent we would, but if somebody did purchase it and propose something that fell within our zoning ordinance, I mean, yeah, we wouldn't really have a whole lot to say.
I don't think the church is going to want to put a parking lot there, though. They didn't want to buy Foxfield, I remember that. I tried to talk them into buying that, but they wouldn't.
To answer your question, it's neighborhood commercial, and that is in the area that we spoke about, that we'll be talking about at the committee meeting in May, that's under that Renaissance protection area. So that's the zoning of the property now.
And do you have a Reader's Digest version of how you would explain what the Renaissance zone is?
Well, the neighborhood, first, the neighborhood commercial is, you know, various retail type things, personal service types of sorts of things. The Renaissance protection basically talks about the setbacks of the buildings and how the building, what it has to be built of.
More so the zoning instead of the usage?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as far as like a parking lot, well, I guess if it was an addition onto Midas, it wouldn't necessarily. but
Parking lots are a permitted use in the neighborhood commercial zone. So,
a storage lot.
yeah, and one of the things that I may differ, or whoever said it, I forget now, that it is a decent-sized piece of property. It could be, because of the right-of-way that's involved with it, that is now public right-of-way that is no longer used, that could be joined to that property if the city desired. And it could be, not that you could put a building on it, because there's a lot of easements that would go through it. You could have your parking, your detention, those sorts of things, and then the building itself being on the lot, but then the parking being over there. So it could be a decent piece of developable property.
Okay. Thank you for knowing, and thanks for being willing to say something.
Let me make a comment about, you all are talking about zoning, but you're not recognizing the fact that we own that property, we've acquired it by deed. If we deed it to somebody else, we can put whatever restrictions on the use of that property we want to. You're not confined to your zoning restrictions. The right-of-way that Dave mentioned is the old right-of-way of McAlpin Avenue, and if you're going to convey that and not keep it as a right-of-way, you can't do both. If you're going to keep it as a right-of-way, that obviously reduces the size of the parcel. If you want to convey the right-of-way also, then you're going to have to close the right-of-way, and you have to go through a process to do that. As Dave indicated, there are a number of easements to that property that we would not want to close. So the parcel within a right-of-way is pretty much restricted from any kind of use.
Okay.
But to convey it, you would have to, and the developer might want that for the size of the acreage and so forth, but you'd have to close the right-of-way to acquire title to it that you could convey. You cannot, the city cannot convey the title to the right-of-way right now because we don't have that authority without closing the right-of-way first.
Okay.
But the important part is you're concerned about what's going in there. With you owning the property by deed, you can restrict the use of that property any way you want to. You could restrict it to the use of you would probably nobody buy it for a public park, but you could restrict it to the use of an office building or a condominium or however you want to restrict it.
Thank you for clarifying that. Would it be safe to say that most of the property that the city owns is owned by deed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So maybe we can try to identify some other properties. I mean, or am I wasting my time?
No,
Is that?
no idea.
Yeah, okay. Is it something that we'd be open to if there's property that we can identify as surplus to put it on the market? Okay. Looks like I'm getting some head nods. Okay.
Mayor, I would point out one more thing. The statutes in regard to disposition of city property require a certain procedure. One of them is a bidding procedure, unless you're going to convey it for economic development, and that would have to be identified in the ordinances somehow or other. So you're not free to dispose of that property like a private citizen is. There's some restrictions on it.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be glad to talk to you about it if you want to.
All right.
Mayor, before you get off that subject, we are in the process of making a plat to, in fact, establish the easements that we were committed to do to get, the water district had to relocate the water main because of the McAlpin intersection project, and they are currently occupying some of our property with their facility, and we're obligated to provide them an easement. My intention was, when we went through the process of closing the right-of-way, and because we do own property on both sides of that closed right-of-way, because we acquired property from Taberke and Gillespie, then the city would become the owner by closing because we own the property on both sides of the road. We would retain easements for the sanitary sewer, the gas main, and electric and telephone lines and things like that. But at that point, that property then could be conveyed at some future date, and could be utilized, as David indicated, for possibly parking lot on the old right-of-way, stormwater management so that a bigger facility could actually be built on the Gillespie lot itself. We also have a commitment, we think, from the telephone company that they're willing, with the work that we did up there, to relocate the overhead telephone line into a conduit that we placed during the construction to eliminate another overhead line that it makes the property less attractive. And we are investigating getting that taken care of. So my question to you is, in my preparation of these easements, do you want me to prepare a document describing the right-of-way for closing, so that we can do what you want to do, no matter what's Mr. Dunhoff's idea or what's transfer or what, but at some point we need to deal with that old right-of-way of McAlpin Avenue, and you do need a description for the purpose of making that closure and retaining the necessary easements within that right-of-way. So do you want me to prepare that, or do you want to think about it?
It seems like that'd be the way to go. The property across the street from it, isn't that the property that's going to be developed as a Family Dollar?
Yes.
Yeah. And they haven't expressed any interest in using the property. Is that what you were saying, Jim? That they could use that property for?
I'm talking about the Gillespie site itself. The land that we own is on that side of the street.
Yeah, okay.
And
okay.
And it's on both sides of the old right-of-way of McAlpin, which makes us the property owner adjacent to the closing. So therefore, there's no issue about closing it. We become the owner of the property. And it just makes the Gillespie site that much bigger as far as utilization for things other than than building a structure. It has nothing to do with the site on Dollar General.
It certainly seems like it makes sense then.
Well, I think it does. You need to get it consolidated at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're recommending closure of that right-of-way?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that item? We've come to the end of our agenda.
Can I get some clarification on the budget? Can I ask?
Sure.
Mr. Engelman said that we wanted to have a document prepared for our May meeting. So I know we discussed increasing that to 2%. So we would like some instruction from the mayor or council. Tell us what document you want us to present to you May 5th that says this about the pay increases. So whether it's the 1.3, whether it's the 2.3, because that seems to be the only item, am I right, Mr. Engelman, that we need to decide upon so we can finalize that document so you can have it in your hand to vote in May on the first, or not vote, but have the first reading of that. So please give us some final, there was discussion here, but I don't know that I heard a recommendation or anything like that. So please tell us and give us some guidance.
Do I need to make a motion for that? Because I would like to make a motion that we raise that from 1.3 to 2.3%.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So that's the route we'll go. 2.3%.
Thank you.
That will be what we'll do with the document. Thank you.
All right. All right, and no more items on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Ms. Pitts. Oh.
Chief.
Chief.
Mark didn't give me the opportunity earlier when he introduced a new chief and assistant chief. I just wanted to get up and thank the council members here. I know I've developed a relationship with you all over the last 12, 14 years being in part of the administration with the budget retreats and whatnot. This job has been very rewarding. I've been blessed in my professional and personal life, and now it's time for me to start a new chapter and do some of the things in my personal life that this job kind of prevented me from doing. So I look forward to that, but I wanted to thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to be a chief of the best police department in the state of Kentucky, and I want to thank you. Thanks.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.